Today, we're going behind the top 10 rock songs from this very same week from the year 1982. Now, in the past, we've done these redux episodes covering the most popular songs on the Billboard Hot 100. But today, we're going to put a new twist on an old favorite. We're going 100% rock. And then after counting them down, of course, we re-rank each song according to how many times they've been streamed and listened to since then to find out what's the real number one. But which classic rock titan will be the winner? It's going to be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, maybe Rush, possibly one of the Eagles flying solo. Start making your guesses in the comments below. Tell us who you think is going to take home the crown. I guarantee this is going to be a great one. All 10 of these songs are awesome. It's all coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember getting buzzed when playing Operation the Game, then this is your channel. Faked you out there, didn't I? Make sure to subscribe below right now to be a part of our Music History Daily straight from the artist and to become an honorary producer on our Patreon. Help us keep this a daily channel. Click on our Patreon in the description. You can also check out our new merch. So it's time for our inaugural installment of our show, the 80s Rocks Redux. This is where we travel back to a specific week in the golden era of the rock and roll era. We're going to count down the top 10 songs on the US rock charts and then re-rank them according to how much they've been listened to, how much the world's listened to them since then. Now, just to clarify, this is not my personal top 10, but the actual top 10 from this exact week back in 1982. We have the songs, and we have the commentary from some of the actual artists. So as we get started, let's take a moment to immerse ourselves in the pop culture context of the day. We're going to start in the movies. Playing in theaters in this same week in 1982, you could choose between Sylvester Stallone's First Blood, The Man from Snowy River, or Pink Floyd's The Wall.
This time, he's fighting for his life. First blood. He's a man. Man from Snowy River. The Wall. We don't need no...
Did you see any of these in the theater? Let us know below. Then on television, there were some classic shows debuting that year. There was Family Ties, Knight Rider, and that one show where everybody knows your name. Cheers.
We do, baby, without us. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Then on the cartoon front, you could catch Pac-Man, Super Friends, and Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Saturday morning cartoons. Such great memories.
For all mankind, these are the Super Friends. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Coming in at number 10, we're kicking it off with the holy trinity of prog rock. I'm talking about Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and Neil Peart of Rush with Subdivisions. Now, by 1982, Rush had long established themselves as one of the premier progressive rock bands of the 70s. Some would argue that they were the premier prog rockers of the decade. However, by the time Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and Neil Peart released their landmark 1981 album, Moving Pictures, they started to layer on a new sound, one that was highlighted by the use of synthesizers. And then 1982 Signals took Rush's keyboard aspirations to a whole new level, while unfortunately pushing Alex's superb guitar work deeper into the mix. For Signals, almost every track had copious amounts of keyboards, and Subdivisions was no exception. In fact, it was one of Rush's first tracks written primarily on keyboards. Subdivisions would be a groundbreaking Rush track for another reason as well. The song marked a major turning point for Neil as a lyricist, whose lyrics had so far been rooted primarily in fantasy. Said Peart about it, and I quote, "I didn't believe yet that I could put something real into a song. Subdivisions happened to be an anthem for a lot of people who grew up under those circumstances. And from then on, I realized what I most wanted to put in a song was human experience." It ultimately peaked at number 5. So coming in at number 9, we're rocking the Casbah with the only band that matters, The Clash. Formed in '76 at the forefront of the British punk movement, The Clash were one of the most iconic protest bands of their era, of course, churning out 6 albums between 1977 and 1985. Rock the Casbah was released as a single from their 5th studio album, Combat Rock. The song was originally composed by Clash drummer Topper Headon, who wrote both the music and the lyrics, and reportedly the lyrics were a dirty ode to his girlfriend. However, frontman Joe Strummer chose to take the song in a completely different direction, making a Middle East-inspired track about defying a ban on disco. Actually, Strummer got to work writing the song one night in his hotel room. He sat down at his typewriter and he wrote the line, "The king told the boogeyman, you gotta get that raga drop." I said Strummer about it. I looked at it, and for some reason, I started to think about what someone had told me earlier, that you get lashed for owning a disco album in Iran. Strummer then intermixed different terms from various cultures across the Middle East and Africa to create this track. For example, Casbah, of course, a walled area in many North African towns, and a Sharif, an Arab ruler. So when Strummer sings Sharif Don't Like It, Rock of the Casbah, it's a cry of protest. The sad irony about the song is that even though Topper wrote it musically, by the time it started climbing the charts, he'd actually been fired from the group due to drug problems. Rock the Casbah went on to become the Clash's biggest U.S. hit. Then when the band broke up in '85, it was speculated that their plan all along was to break up once they had conquered America. Reportedly, Joe Strummer couldn't justify singing rebellious songs if they were, rich and successful. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we've got a song from a band who was kind of trying to find their footing in the 80s after ruling the 70s. Talking about The Who with Eminence Front. Great song from their 10th studio album, It's Hard. Eminence Front is the best-known song from It's Hard, which was the second album released by the band after the death of Keith Moon. However, even though the record went to number 11 on the charts in the UK and it went to number 8 here in the US, it was viewed by many as a letdown. I don't know why. I liked it. In fact, frontman Roger Daltrey is quoted as having said, "I hated it, still hate it. It's Hard would fare poorly compared to its predecessors, of course. It only went gold, and it broke a 6-album streak of platinum or more in America." Afterwards, The Who wouldn't record another album for decades, not until 2006, actually. Even so, the LP's lone hit, Eminence Front, was well received, showed that the band could connect Pete Townshend's new wave-influenced solo work with the classic sound of Who's Next. Of the song, Townsend said, and I quote, "Eminence Front was written around a chord progression I discovered on my faithful Yamaha E70 organ. I hesitate to try to explain exactly what it's about. It's clearly about the absurdity of drug-fueled grandiosity. But whether I was pointing the finger at myself or at the cocaine dealers of Miami Beach is hard to recall." End of quote. Eminence Front ultimately peaked at number 5 on the rock charts and pretty much became The Who's last commercially successful single in the United States. So as we arrive at the number 7 position, I want to take a moment and recognize our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the glasses that I always wear on here. Zenni actually tops the charts in a few different ways, customer service being one. Zenni was actually recently named to Newsweek's list of America's best customer service for the 5th consecutive year. That's based on an independent survey of more than 30,000 US customers. Go design your own look at our info button right up here to get amazing prices on prescription glasses. Check it out today. So at number 7, it's the Rockabilly Rebels, talking about the Stray Cats with their 80s rockabilly standard, Rock This Town.
We're gonna rock this town.
The Stray Cats' music was like nothing else that was happening in pop culture at that time. Formed by guitarist and vocalist Brian Setzer, upright bassist Lee Rocker, and drummer Slim Jim Phantom in 1979, the trio started their career in New York. However, by the summer of 1980, they migrated to London to take advantage of a rockabilly revival movement was happening there, starting to emerge. The band would release 2 albums in the UK, Stray Cats and Also Gonna Ball. It's where they scored 3 straight hits with Runaway Boys, Rock This Town, and Stray Cats Strut.
We're gonna rock this town, make them scream and shout.
Deciding to return to America from there, they signed with EMI in 1982 and they dropped their US debut, Built for Speed. This 12-track compilation primarily featured highlights from their 2 British LPs. Aided by extensive MTV airplay, Rock This Town surged up the US charts, pop and rock charts.
Let's rock, man, rock till we pop.
From there, the Cats would keep pretty busy throughout the remainder of the 80s, releasing 3 more albums. Brian Setzer would actually be Eddie Cochran in the movie La Bamba as well. They broke up in 84, they reunited in 88, they gave it another run until breaking up for a second time in 92, and then more reunions would follow in the years to come, as well as stellar solo work by Brian Setzer, who has released over 20 albums since 1986. So coming in at the number 6 position on the countdown, we have a song that was really, how do I say it, a middle finger to the media. I'm talking about Dirty Laundry by Don Henley. This came from his solo debut, Can't Stand Still. Henley co-authored this track with co-producer Danny Korchmar, who was, of course, a key contributor to Henley's solo work. Danny often held in-depth discussions with Don about what they wanted to say before they even started to write. For this one, though, Korchmar remembered sitting on the title Dirty Laundry for months before, it finally came together. Like I said before, Dirty Laundry, it's something of a Henley vendetta against the sensationalized news media. Of course, a very private person, as most of you know, Don Henley hated reporters prying into his personal life. Around the time the Eagles were breaking up, there was an incident that would play a big role in inspiring this song. Late November 1980, in fact, Henley threw a party at his LA home. Got a little out of hand. One of the guests, a 16-year-old girl, OD'd and had to be resuscitated. Although Henley maintained that he didn't know the girl, he was arrested for contributing to the delinquency of a minor and possession of illegal substances. Subsequently, he was fined $2,000 and ordered to attend drug counseling. Now, the press jumped all over these events and went into a feeding frenzy. Very angry, Henley fired back with Dirty Laundry, taking aim at glamorous actors masquerading as television reporters and anchors. The lyrics of the song poke fun at journalists who are more concerned with how they look than accurately reporting the news. Not much has changed. Okay, so we've made it halfway through the countdown, and at number 5, this one is a blast from the past. Let's see if you remember these guys. It's Saga with On the Loose from their 4th studio album, Worlds Apart. Saga, just like Rush before them, they hailed from Ontario, Canada. Also like Rush, Saga would match elements of progressive rock and new wave for their sound in the 80s. Saga's lineup has changed quite a bit throughout the years. But for Worlds Apart, it consisted of lead singer Michael Sadler, guitarist Ian Crichton, bassist Jim Crichton, keyboardist Jim Gilmore, and drummer Steve Negus. On the Loose was Saga's biggest hit. Describing the track, Sadler said, and I quote, "On the Loose is just blowing off steam. Everybody's got to just let it out every once in a while. Can't keep things inside. Tonight I'm on the loose, we're on the loose, you're on the loose. Every once in a while, we've got to let go and just blow it out and deal with the consequences later on." End of quote. The music video for On the Loose was actually one of the first concept clips created by a North American band. launched in 1981. A few months before the album came out, On the Loose went into heavy rotation during the early days of MTV, according to Sadler, being played up to 10 times in a 24-hour period. Saga had no idea what a rock video even was at the time that they made it. But their management suggested that they do it, so they did, and it was good. Ultimately, On the Loose rose to number 3 on the rock charts in late 82 and early 83, and thanks to the success of Worlds Apart and On the Loose, Saga won the 1982 Juno Award for Most Promising Group of the Year. To date, they've released 23 studio albums. Their most recent, just a few years back, Symmetry, came out in 2021. Heading into the number 4 spot, it's from a legend that we all truly, truly miss. It's You Got Lucky by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. You Got Lucky is a defiant breakup track and the lead single off the band's 5th studio album, Long After Dark. Tom said that You Got Lucky came from a riff that Heartbreakers guitarist Mike Campbell had come up with. You got lucky, said Petty about it, and I quote, "It was almost a throwaway, almost just tossed off. The band didn't expect that much would come of it, but the next thing you know, it was released as a single." This was on October 22nd, 1982, just a couple of weeks before the album came out. When I found you. As far as the song's dystopian music video, Petty explained in the book I Want My MTV, The Uncensored Story of the Music Video Revolution, he said that they wrote the treatment themselves, borrowing a lot of ideas from a popular movie from around that time, Mad Max. Something that wasn't all that uncommon for a lot of videos in that era. The video, it was a groundbreaker though, and after its debut on MTV, it really started affecting their daily lives, making the band more recognizable than ever. Not only were teens spotting Tom on the street, but the older generation, they were going up to him as well, introducing themselves, trying to get an autograph. And that's when they knew that they were getting big. Despite the song's breakthrough status, though, You Got Lucky didn't make a lot of Tom Petty's set lists, especially in the early days. That's because initially it wasn't one of his favorites. However, Tom admitted that the song grew on him over the years. He said, and I quote, "You know what that song is? It's a perfect little single. When I hear it on the radio, I think, wow, we really just filled every little space in the right way." Very cool. At the number 3 spot this week, we've got the Queen of Rock, at least in the 80s. Pat Benatar with Shadows of the Night. Shadows of the Night was actually written by pop singer D.L. Byron. It was a demo for his second album. However, he ran into creative differences with his label, and the project was ultimately scrapped. We're running through the shadows of the night. The song then went to another pop singer, Rachel Sweet, who released it on her 1981 album, And Then He Kissed Me. But that version didn't go anywhere either. Finally, in 1982, Pat Benatar took a stab at this song. Shadows of the Night proved to be a perfect fit for Pat Benatar, especially for her voice. She actually helped rewrite many of the lyrics with drummer Myron Grombacher. Said Pat about it, "This was a song that was written by D.L. Byron, and it was first recorded by Rachel Sweet, but Myron and I rewrote many of the lyrics to make it work for me. We did get paid for our work, but got none of the credit for being writers on such a monstrous hit." The video for Shadows of the Night, I know we're talking about a lot of videos, but again, this was right at the beginning of MTV. Anyway, the video for Shadows of the Night was a concept piece that landed Pat in the cockpit of a World War II fighter plane. However, Benatar's husband and guitarist, Neil Giraldo, he wasn't a fan of this treatment. He actually hated it. He said, "I was like, how could you do this? Why would you do a song like Shadows of the Night to have it like a war scene? What is this? This is horrible. Who thought this was a good idea?" It was definitely an unconventional approach for sure. Still, it didn't slow the song down any. Actually worked really well. This song did well on the rock charts and the Billboard Hot 100, and it helped propel Get Nervous to platinum status and to number 4 on the U.S. albums chart. Again, nobody was bigger than Pat Benatar at this particular time. So coming in at number 2, the bridesmaid here, it's the former frontman of Genesis, riding high with a solo hit, Shock the Monkey. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Peter Gabriel. Shock the Monkey, driven by an unrelenting synthesizer riff, has understandably been mistaken for a song about shock therapy and monkeys. However, that's not what it's about at all. Said Gabriel about it. Most people saw Shock the Monkey as sort of an animal rights song, but it wasn't actually. It was a song about jealousy. In fact, Gabriel insisted that the track is just a love song and that the idea is that jealousy works to trigger our most basic animal instincts. And speaking of the music video and why people got confused about the song's music video, it did a little to clear up the confusion of what the song's about. Featured Peter Gabriel dressed in 2 opposing forms. He's dressed in a dark suit, maybe a businessman, and a white face painted shaman, I guess. It's a bizarre but symbolic journey through the deeper meaning of this song, with Gabriel's dual natures competing for primacy, and, you know, there are some monkeys in there as well. Propelled by its unconventional music video and its really catchy synth, Shock the Monkey gave Gabriel his most successful single to date. It surpassed 1977's Much Better Salisbury Hill and 1980's Games Without Frontiers, another great song. Of course, 1986's Sledgehammer would smash all of them, went to number 1 on the rock charts and the Hot 100, the Cashbox charts, even the dance club charts. Still, Shock the Monkey was a success in its own right, becoming a prelude to Gabriel's big-time commercial popularity, if so. Had to throw the big time in there. Okay, we finally made it to the number 1 spot. So what do you think it is? Did you put your guesses down in the comments section? If not, here's your chance. All right, here we go. For the top spot on the US rock charts 41 years ago. This song was so big, and the band was actually sued many years after the success of the song. I'm talking about Down Under from Men at Work, from their massively successful debut album, Business as Usual.
And she said, "Do you come from a land down under?"
Down Under became a pop culture phenomenon, just like Business as Usual did. One of the most successful albums by an Australian group at that time. It was also one of the highest selling Australian albums of the decade. It moved 6 million copies in the US, and it spent 15 weeks, 15 weeks at number 1 on the albums charts from 82 into 83. That's like Taylor Swift territory. Coming off the incredible success of their chart-topping song, Who Can It Be Now?, Men at Work kept the party going at number 1, not only on the rock charts, but also the Billboard Hot 100 and the Cashbox chart. True triple threat here.
Can't you hear the thunder?
I mean, this song was so massive. You know, as an 8-year-old kid growing up in a small town in Idaho, this song, it was my introduction to a larger world. Not only outside of the US, but outside of America, the great outback of Australia. And there's such great imagery in the lyrics. Frontman Colin Hay, who co-wrote the track, sat down to discuss this song with me, and this is what he said about it.
I'd had this line in my head, living in land down under, and I didn't know, I just liked the line. And then one day I was driving along in this street that I used to have some friends who lived there in Melbourne, and this thing was going along, it was going dun, ticka, dun, ticka, dun, dun. And so I just think, living in land down under, I thought, oh, that's cool. And so I was just sang it over that over his tape, and then the next morning I just went home and the lyrics and the chords came. And it just came like in half an hour, and that was it.
If you want to hear about the ridiculous lawsuit about this song, check out our full video, our full mini documentary on Down Under in our interview. I'll link to it below.
You better run, you better take cover.
Before we calibrate, I'm going to throw in a little wrinkle. Here are two more songs that charted on the U.S. rock charts this very same week, but they never broke into the top 10. Big songs, though. First one is Destination Unknown by Missing Persons, which would top out at a disappointing number 24. And the second song is Maneater by Daryl Hall and John Oates. This one peaked at number 18. So with these two extras in the mix, let's put all 12 of these tracks through our Redux recalibration system, and we're going to figure out what the new top 10 is 41 years later. So coming in at number 10 is Peter Gabriel's Shock the Monkey with 32 million streams. Next at number 9, we've got You Got Lucky by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, tagging 36 million streams. Falling 2 positions to number 8, it's Dirty Laundry by Don Henley, totaling 58 million streams. Coming in at number 7 is Pat Benatar's version of Shadows of the Night with 60 million streams.
Like it's all moving way too fast.
Climbing up 4 spots to number 6. Subdivisions by Rush has accumulated 66 million streams. Halfway through at the number 5 position. The Stray Cats claw their way up 2 spots with Rock This Town and 71 million streams. For the number 4 spot, The Who and Eminence Front becomes the first band on the countdown to break 100 million streams, turning in 112 million to be exact. Coming in at number 3, it's Rock the Casbah by The Clash with a big jump, tallying 422 million streams. For a runner-up position, our Bridesmaid at number 2, it's one of our last-minute additions, actually. It's Daryl Hall and John Oates with Maneater, an incredible 846 million streams. That means for the number 1 song, we're down to 3 possibilities. What do you think? Is it Saga with On the Loose, Mission Persons with Destination Unknown, or Men at Work with Down Under? I think you know what it is. This one blew all of the other songs out of the water, coming in with 1.2 billion streams. The number 1 song from this same week in 1982, it doesn't change, Down Under by Men at Work. They were number 1 then, they're number 1 now. It's just a classic track. So let's do a little comparison shopping here before we go. This is how these songs sound against today's Billboard hits.
They waiting on the kid to come drop like a father to be. Love when they argue the hardest MC. Is it
Boy is I don't like no whips and chains, and you can't tie me down. But you can.
Looking at me like I'm some sweet escape.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah. No comment. So there it is, our new top 10 based on all-time streams and views. Make sure to share your memories of these songs. What do you think about the new top 10? What do you think about doing a top 10 for the rock tracks charts? Let us know below if you want us to return to just our regular Redux where we do pop, rock, all that stuff. Let us know. I just wanted to try this one time and see how you like it. Let's have a great discussion below about Rush and Men at Work and Pat Benatar and so many great ones. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe below. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.